Hello, and welcome to Temple of Divine with your host, High Priestess Makita Divine. Real talk for the walk. Check your hangups at the door, and let's begin to explore. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to Temple of Divine TV. Real talk for the walk right here. Wait a minute. On WJZZ Cool TV. And I am so excited that you are here. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and call me 313-355-6018. We got a interesting, hot, emotional topic today, or theme for today's show. So I know you're going to have questions, or you may have comments. Definitely put your comments there. I may not respond to them right now, but I respond to all comments, and I will always respond. So a couple things. Today's show is brought to you by Uru. You do not need a guru. You can be a Uru, master of you, your own universe. Contrary to popular belief, your mother was wrong about one thing, and that is that the world really does revolve around you. So, also brought to you by Get Crystallized Agency, making marketing simple for you. So if you're a small business and you're ready to just kind of crank up your marketing, don't know where to start, then definitely reach out. I'll leave the contact information in the comments. And finally, before we get into the content, if you find help on Temple of Divine TV, Real Talk for the Walk, it is benefiting you in some way, and you just feel like overwhelmed and you want to do something and you want to support financially, you may do so by going to Cash App, $MD Temple of Divine. That's $MD Temple of Divine. Any amount is appreciated, from $1 to $1,000 to $1 million if you want to. I hope to provide you with $1 million worth of value, but whatever is fine with me. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get to the content. Now, today, we're going to go into the matrix, and we're going to talk about death. That's right. We're going to talk about death. Nobody wants to talk about it, but we're going to talk about that today. Then we're going to go into the vortex, and we're going to talk about life and what that's about. And then stick around to the end, because we're going to really kind of dig into, in the spirit, what happens when you die, and why it's not something that you need to be afraid of at all, and how you can help make death experiences more palatable and more comfortable as they occur in your life, because they will occur, because everything dies except your eternal spirit. So with that, let's get into the content. So today we're talking about this topic because I, High Priestess Makita, lost my dad on Thursday. So this is a very hot topic for me. And I know in the Matrix, it's a really hot topic, because I don't know about you, in your lifetime, I have never had a quantity of people to die or have an awareness of death so much as I have in the last 2 or 3 years. I'm sure you will agree. Type agree in the comments if you agree with what I'm saying. So I thought, wow, this is a really great topic. It's a timely topic for me. And I don't know, I can't promise you I'm not going to cry today, but just to let you know that I can only see out of one eye because my contact is going crazy. So that might not be that kind of tear. It might just be like, dang, my eye is jacked up tear. But anyway, so the first thing I want to talk about in the Matrix, we're going to talk about death in the Matrix, dying, and what happens. And so I thought this would be a good check for me, right? So you can say, okay, which one am I experiencing? I feel like maybe I'm delusional. I feel like I should be different right now. So I'm going to put it out to you. You help me. You helping me. Iron sharpening iron. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. This is from the Cruise organization in the UK. They have a group that is understanding grief. And so they came up with these kind of things that people experience when someone close to them dies. So I thought, let's go through these and see how I'm doing. My dad was 81. I think it was 81 years old. He died at home, and his partner found him on his knees. So And some people may think, oh, well, that's good. He was getting right before he went. Or to me, I think he was already right. So maybe he was just like, I'm done. I'm ready to go. But that's the way we found him. And he was, he wasn't perfect. So High Priestess Makita, am working on an obituary. And I have to tell you that it's challenging when you write an obituary for somebody, because it's like, do you tell the, it's like you want it to be like positive and uplifting and really hold up that person. But it's so fake most of the time, because you put all that positive stuff in there and then you never make it, you never show that the person was imperfect. So then people feel like they have to be perfect. But anyway, that's a whole nother show. But so here's the topics for In the Matrix on death. We experience shock and numbness. We experience pain, anger, guilt, depression, seeing and hearing the person when they're not there. And also there's physical feelings. I'm going to go real quick through these in the matrix. Remember, we're focusing in the matrix. This is the experience that you have on the day to day. It's not connected to the true reality of so many things that are going on around you. But this is how in the matrix, most of the time we handle or we address guilt and fear. So, death. So now this is what I want you to do. As I'm going through this list, if you feel so inclined to share, I want you to share if in fact you have experienced any of these things when you've had someone close to you pass, and if so, kind of which one. So if you hear one that chimes, that resonates with you, and you want to share, you could also call in at 313-355-6018 if you're so inclined to just kind of share a little bit about how you managed through that, just real quick. But we're going to go through them, and go ahead and put in the comments which one resonates with you or which one you connect with. Because I know this death experience for me has been a lot different than like when my grandmother passed. Like when my grandmother passed, I could not stop crying. Like every time I would mention her name, think about her, anything, like for like 3 years, I was crying. My dad died Thursday, and I'm like, I've cried. Like I haven't like not cried. I've cried, but it wasn't like this sadness or this loss. And I think the way you handle grief depends on your closeness and proximity with the person and what your relationship was with them. And so there's so many things that come into play. But what I want to accomplish in today's show is, one, to let you know it's okay, and two, to kind of dispel some myths or some rumors or misconceptions if there might be around death, so that, so that you can know that it's all good. Okay, so the first one is pain, right? So obviously this is the most relevant one. This is like, oh my gosh, this person is gone. My dad is gone. I'm never going to see him again. So that is like, the pain that you feel. To put in the comments if you felt that pain, if it was something different for you. I don't really feel the pain in this case. I felt it with my grandmother, but I didn't feel, I think more so too because hers was sudden. But I don't feel it with this because I know that he knew that it was coming. We talked about it. I knew his comfort level with death and that whole thing. So it did not affect me the same way it affected my grandmother. How did it affect you? Go ahead and put in the comments, if that was something that you experienced. The second one is anger. It's like, I'm mad. How could you leave me? I don't believe you're doing this to me. What is wrong with you? How could this happen? Or maybe it's something that seems like an unfair death. Somebody, got killed for no reason, or somebody did something stupid. And, like, especially when there's like small children or something like that. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so mad. How could this happen? Right? So anger is a way that you can respond. So go ahead and put in the comments if anger was something that you've experienced. Go ahead and put that in there and talk about, how the anger made you, how that helped you or didn't help you, or how you got through it. The third thing is guilt. Sometimes people feel guilty. I think some of that is maybe going on even in my family, because I know that before my dad passed, they were all kind of working to try and get him into a home, because his home conditions were not perfect, but they were like, he liked them, like he was okay with them. And I knew that. I feel like even though I wasn't the closest to him in proximity, I felt like I was the closest to him in terms of understanding where he was at. So So they wanted him to move out, and they tried to get him to move, and they got all the way there, like I think, and then they called me, and when they saw he wasn't budging, then they called me like, "Hey, can you talk to Dad?" I'm like, "No, don't nobody want to die with a bunch of strangers in a place that they don't know. We want to be at home." But anyway, there may be some guilt around that because it's like, "Oh man, I can't believe you did that to me. You know what, dude? I'm done." So there may be some of that. So guilt a lot of times comes into play because you feel like in the matrix that you can't talk to them anymore. And I'm explaining to you in the spirit why that's not true. But a lot of times that's the guilt that comes. Then there's depression. There's depression. I know a lot of people are depressed when there's a death of someone that's close to them. And I can't really connect with the depression, but I know people have been very like clinically depressed. And I'm not sure where that comes from. If you know, go ahead and call in. If you have experience with depression after a death experience, go ahead and call in at 313-355-6018 and share that if you don't mind sharing that experience, because there are a ton of people out there who have had that experience, who may be looking for the answer, and you may have it. I don't, but you could. So call in 313-355-6018. The other one is seeing and hearing the person. So this particular site was kind of interesting because it said, oh, well, some people think they see and hear the person that passed, and they think it's like slow, you're not dealing with things well. I'm going to share in the spirit how, no, boo, it's possible you could see and hear the person. Okay, it's possible. So that's not, if that's you and that happened to you, you don't have to feel like that's something weird. Real talk, that's okay. It's fine. It's fine. And it happens, and it's nothing wrong with it. In the Matrix, it's a little odd because in the Matrix, they don't know stuff. But it really is okay. And then finally, the other thing was physical feelings, like you feel sick. And a lot of that is because emotions are what make you feel sick. Disease is dis-ease. It's like you felt one kind of way, but you feel away, and your body internalizes that emotion. And when your body internalizes emotion, then you can feel sick, and you can feel tired, and you can feel a whole lot of different things that are tied directly to your emotions. Okay. So now I Priestess Makita, I think I'm doing okay. I really, I don't know. I think I'm doing too okay for a lot of people because I did something. I can't remember. I think I cracked a joke or something, and somebody was like, "Oh, well, you're feeling good, pretty good considering everything that's happened over the last couple of days." And I'm like, yeah, my daddy wouldn't have it any other way because he wasn't, he was no wimp. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, what I want to, the other thing I want to kind of touch on a little bit after this, but before I do that, let me just share that you are watching Temple of Divine TV, Real Talk for the Walk with your host, High Priestess Makita, here on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Feel free and please do like, comment, share, subscribe, and yes, call at 313-355-6018 and talk to me about this death thing if you dare. If you feel like you're comfortable in sharing, then definitely do that, because it's not just me and you, right? Like anyone who sees this later may find this episode somewhere at the right time for them, and then your comment may be the thing to help them to get through it. So don't be shy. Don't be shy. Make sure to call in. So real quick, before we go to In the Vortex, I just wanted to share that a lot of the concepts or a lot of the perceptions that we have about death in the Matrix is they're based on beliefs that we had. They're based on interactions that we have with different people. They're based on things that we've seen emotionally, the movies. There's all types of things that shape our beliefs. And a lot of the things that we experience that we're sad about is the dependency. Sometimes we're like emotionally dependent upon someone and then they're gone. Or sometimes we're financially dependent upon someone. And it's like, oh my gosh, what I'm going to do. So the sadness that we experience when there's a death has multiple sources. And what I found just really kind of, I didn't take it any kind of way. Like anyone who responded, I did a little post. I put my dad's picture on there, and I got a lot of responses from people that said things like, "Hey, I'm sorry for your loss. My condolences. I'll be praying for you. Prayer will get you through." And it's like this death is like this horrible thing. Like we really in the matrix, death is horrible. It's like the worst thing ever. It's like something that you don't understand, that you are trying to make your way through to understand. But in the meantime, you're just all torn up and you don't know what to do. Like that's the way it is in the matrix. And my only point is that a lot of times there's a whole lot of other stories and different perspectives that cause that sadness that don't necessarily have anything to do with you in your heart missing the essence of that person, right? Let's just call a spade, real talk. That sometimes, of course, there may be some pain from missing the essence of that person, that personality that was in your life. But a lot of times that sadness, be for real now, is about missing their money, missing their time, missing their ear, missing their cooking, missing their, you know what I'm saying, their cleaning. There's a whole bunch of things that people are crying about at the funeral. But my point is, thank you. If you sent me condolences and said thank you, I appreciate you. I really, really do. Because here's the thing, people don't have to say anything. They could have scrolled past my post and just been like, oh, that's too bad. But anybody who took time out to make a comment or send me a smiley face or a hug or a kiss, I love you. I absolutely love you because you took time out to share some of your time with me in a time of loss. Well, I don't call it loss because nobody's ever lost, but we'll get to that in the spirit. Okay. So let's move on to in the vortex. So we talked about in the matrix, death in the matrix, and what people go through when they're experiencing many. My dad's partner, I think she experienced maybe like 6 or 7 already this year, right? So if you've been, I won't say blessed to experience more, then share because somebody needs to hear your story and your feedback, and perhaps it can help. Anyway, in the vortex, the question is, how do I live my life in a way that when I do die, I have no regrets? How do I live my life so that I'm cool with, I'm like, okay, I came in to run my race and then, okay, I'm done. And what I was thinking on today is one thing is that I want you to know is it everyone, I don't care if you think they're a bad guy, good guy, criminal, mass murderer, whoever, everyone who comes here leaves this place better than it was before. I know what you're thinking. My priestess, you crazy. Oh no, Somebody that's a mass murder, really seriously, they left the world better than it was before? Yes. Why? Because whatever that cruelty was, people came together. People were awakened. You know, like we live our lives and we kind of go through the day-to-day routines and everything's very consistent. And we sometimes forget about the humanity and the what's the word I'm looking for? And the briefness of life. But when something bad happens, then we go, oh, it shakes you. You're awake. And then you go, oh, I need to do something different. Well, that's good. And out of that comes a whole bunch of good stuff. So everyone, even the shadiest, nastiest, meanest person you can think of, everyone leaves the planet better, or the earth better than it was when they got here. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that it's very important for you to stay connected with your higher self. So we'll get into this more in the spirit, but essentially, you are like a God satellite. You're a piece of source. You broke up. You said, okay, I want to go down to the planet and I want to do something, whatever it is. I want to experience something, and it doesn't have to be some great thing. It could be some small thing. It could be, I just want to experience life as a guy or whatever it is. Okay, so you set that up. Then a part of you says, okay, I'll go down to the planet and make that happen. And there's another part of you that's your higher self, because you're an eternal spiritual being. Your higher self stays with source And it's kind of like rooting you on with your ancestors and your guides and all that as you experience this. Now, the problem is when you come here, you don't know, you're not aware of what that goal or that plan is that you made. You essentially have a veil of forgetfulness. And that is because when people used to come here before and knew who they were, and they experienced themselves from the very beginning, then people would just be following them and worshiping them instead of following and worshiping themselves in effect. And so it just messed everything up. So anyway, when you came here, you don't know you don't have a clue. Mentally, conceptually, you don't know, but in your spirits, you do know. And so the way that you can live your happiest life and your purest life and experience the real path that you're on is to just stay connected with what is your bliss. What do you feel good doing? What can you be satisfied with? Those are things. And that doesn't mean that things are always nice and happy and rainbow and butterflies. Sometimes you can be satisfied in a bad situation. Like I'm sitting here, I can't see out of my right eye because these contacts are irritating me, but I am satisfied and I am in the essence of who I am by just sitting here sharing information with you. Is life perfect in this moment? Heck no. But in this moment, I'm moving forward and doing something that is comfortable for me that I want to do to share, and it's all good. So that is the thing, is that you have to be authentically aligned with who you are, and your barometer or your clue, if you will, is your level of emotion. How do you feel when you're doing something? If something makes you feel good, feel happy, then you want to focus more on those things and not focus on the things that make you feel sad, feel depressed, feel unloved. You want to get away from those things and always be moving towards. Because when you are focused on the things that are good for you, that feel good for you, then you're in line with your higher self. When you are not feeling good, when you are feeling angry, when you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling I don't know, unappreciated, whatever it is, you're not aligned with your higher self. Because your higher self is purely 100% thinking of where you should be and who you are. So if you're down here and you're not feeling that, you're not aligned. And so the way you get aligned is you find a place of satisfaction. And from that place of satisfaction, you can jump off either way. You can be more dissatisfied, or you could actually become satisfied. Okay. So that's what I wanted to share about in the vortex. Let me look at my notes. Okay. Authentically. Okay. Any questions? You sure you don't have questions? Call me 313-355-6018 or comment in the replay. Comment replay if you're watching this on the replay. Let me know. Hey, hi Priestess. I couldn't make it at 3:00 on Saturday, but guess what? I did catch you. Comment in the replay that you came by, that you stopped by. I appreciate you. Okay. Now, the next segment is where we talk about in the spirit. And that is about life after death and near-death experiences and what happens when you die. Now, I will tell you that I don't have from firsthand experience any of that because I've never been dead before. I've never come back from the dead before. So I'm not an expert on, and if I do find somebody that's done that, I'll make sure to have them on the show. Okay. So, but there's enough evidence of the existence of non-physical entities and beings and experiences that we can identify the possibility that something else is going on beyond what currently meets the eye. Okay. So I heard a really interesting description of us as human beings and the physical versus non-physical from a guy named Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle is one of those spiritual gurus. But what I found in my life on my spiritual journey is that, that saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Like literally, I really have lived that. How about you? Have you lived that? Put in the comments, student, if you ever really felt like, wow, like you're taking these steps in life And then just when you needed to learn something new, you found a resource to help you learn that new thing. Like I'm really experiencing that. And I can remember when I first started my spiritual journey. Maybe it wasn't at the very beginning, but one of the things that I had to do to release my spirit of a lot of things that were kind of holding me down is I wrote letters. Okay. I wrote letters to anyone who had hurt me, who had made me feel some kind of way, which later I learned nobody can make you feel any way. But for all the anybody like that. So it was when my first son was born. So it had to be about 17 or so years ago. And I wrote these letters out to people. And I will tell you, my dad was the only one who actually responded to the letter. And he called me up. We had a conversation about it. So he was like clear, we were clear and aligned on the situation. And he apologized for some things. You know what I'm saying? It was like a good experience. But I found that letters work because when you use a letter to share what you're feeling about something, the first thing that happens is that you're able to get it all out. Okay. Writing a letter lets you really fully, completely express what you're feeling and your emotions about a certain situation. Writing a letter does that. The other thing that writing a letter does, whether you mail it or not, like I mail my letters, but whether you mail it or not, it allows you to get across to the person the totality of the emotions that you're feeling. Because the reality is, most of the time, I'd like to think that it's different, but in my life experience, whenever I've tried to share with somebody how I feel about something, we never can get there to the full expression of it. Because as you're having we all suck as conversationalists. We all suck as listeners. So by the time, when you're having that interaction, that person is like listening to you, waiting to find the point that they can counterpoint on. You know what I'm saying? Like rarely if somebody, unless you're paying them, like you have a therapist and they're like paying you, rarely is someone really just sitting and listening to you for the purpose of hearing both your words and your heart. Rarely is that ever happening, right? So the letter is a vehicle that allows you to really fully express what you're feeling. And when the recipient gets the letter, if they're open, then they'll read. And I think most people will read a full letter before they listen to a full conversation, right? So they'll get your letter and they'll read your whole letter, right? And then when they read your whole letter, they might be like, bullshit. Or they might be like, oh, wow, I didn't know they felt that way. I didn't know what I did had that impact on them. I didn't know how that made them feel. Wow. They may really get a revelation in that reading of the information that will help them to grow. Okay. And then after that, some amazing things happen, which I'm going to tell you right after this. Station ID. You are watching Temple of Divine TV, real talk for the walk. I am your host, High Priestess Makita Divine, and I am so glad that you are here. We are broadcasting live on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world, live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. And what's great about this is you can call. You don't have to just watch me talk. You can actually call in right now live and talk to me and share information with me. You can't do that when you're watching a typical YouTube video, right? You can't do that with a Facebook Live. You can put some comments in, but you can actually call and voice to voice. There's something about hearing someone's voice and being engaged in a dialogue that's different than anything else, right? So if you want to experience that, call me at 313-355-6018 and let's talk about what you want to talk about. So the amazing thing that happened, going back to the letters, and this ties into the spirit and life after death and all that, is that in order for you to fully experience life the way you want it, in order for you to draw into your experience the things that are in your vortex that you've put there by looking at things that you don't want and identifying things that you do want, and you do this all the time, whether you're aware of it or not, when you're able to do that, you have, in order to be able to do that, you have to work through the emotions of the past. So, and we all, I don't know if everyone has had some trauma, but most people have had some type of traumatic experience, something that happened to you that made you feel, experience an intense emotion that then caused you to establish a belief. And so a lot of times people say, oh, well, you have to put that behind you. You have to, heal the past by, recognizing it and moving on and getting over it and just get rid of it. Don't pay attention. And I say, no. I say the way you heal is that you look at least for me, let me talk about me. I can't talk about you. I'm talk about me. What allowed me to heal in so many different areas is just to look at those areas, bubble them up, and be aware, like awareness to say, oh, wow, that really did make me feel some kind of way. Man, when I got hit in my mouth at 8 years old in front of my house, man, that made me feel some way about trying to help people. Okay, this is digress. I was 8 years old. I had my little purse, I had my little change in the purse, and I was all happy. I had just came from the penny candy store, and I was right in front of my house. Guy came up. He asked me, he was like, oh, can I have a quarter? I was like, sure. I opened up my bag, gave that joker some money. He hit me in my mouth and took my money right in front of my house. Do you know what that did to me? I am like 50 plus 50 plus. I'm almost 60, and I am just now connecting with how that affected my ability and desire to help people. Like, I was like, I ain't helping nobody. Forget y'all. You help people, they hurt you, and not even your mom and daddy can do anything about it. Okay? That's the way beliefs are established, right? So I had to bubble that up and be like, oh, wow. Wow. I didn't know that affected me with that way. And then what you have to do is you have to say, okay, but first of all, honey, you were 8 years old. Second of all, if that person had to hit the child in the mouth to get some change, they were worse off than you were. They had some major issues going on. Okay. Third of all, you don't need your mom and your daddy to protect you. You have source, infinite intelligence, ancestors, guides, and angels who are assigned to your happiness. So you don't have to do that. You just have to be aware that they exist and know what you're seeking and the outcome that you're looking for in your life. And then don't worry about it. You're good, boo. It's okay. You have to kind of talk to your younger self and be like, oh, boo, that was horrible. You know what? I know exactly how you feel about that. But that shouldn't affect you, because here's all the reasons why it's okay. Like, you really need to talk to yourself like that. So that's how you have to work through those beliefs and things to allow you to live the life that you want to live. So, my priestess, what that have to do with life after death? Okay, I'm gonna get there. So, the reason what that has to do with life after death is that when you're connecting with your higher self, when you understand that you are eternal, meaning that there is an eternal version of you and there's a physical manifestation of you, just like Jesus. If you're a Christian background, there's people are, oh, this always confused me, right? So there's God the Father, God the Son, and then Jesus. But Jesus came down here. Jesus was God on earth, blah, blah, blah. But listen, just like there's a non-physical version of Christ consciousness, there's a non-physical version of you. Jesus came, and I don't try to make this no religious thing, but from the Bible as a example, not as something special, as an example for who you are. So there's a non-physical version of you, and there's a physically manifested version of you, okay, that's here on the planet for some purpose to experience, okay? So now, stay with me. So if there's a non-physical version of you that knows exactly what you came here to do, and there's a physical version of you that is actually engaged in the doing, you may be asking, well, how is okay, so how do we make that connection? That's where your meditation comes in. So you do your meditation, you stay connected with your higher self. Then you understand, here we go, that death is just when your physical presence ceases to function. When the animating spirit that kept your body alive is no longer there, it's absorbed back into source. You go back to being the same eternal being you've always been. But you were in a physical, you had a physical existence because you need a body to operate down here. I had to be honest. So the question of is there life after death is kind of like a matrix question, because the answer is there is no death. Nothing ever dies in the sense, a human being doesn't die in the sense of they cease to exist. They just cease to exist in physical form. So therefore, the process of grieving and all of that is more connected to the person who's left and their experience of the one who's gone. But the one who's gone, they're happy. They're partying. They're connected with all your other ancestors. They're like, whoo, man, I'm so glad to be out of there. But you know what they say? Not that I really talk to anybody. This is high priest, my imagination, right? But I would imagine that they'd be like, dang, you mean I could have done this, this, and this, and this? This is you, your fear, you scared of doing something. You got a feeling in your heart you need to do something. You're like, dang, you know what? I need to start this business. I need to, I need to go ask that girl out. I need to, you really feel like you want to do it? That's you. That's your emotions. You're excited about it and you're happy about the stuff. If you follow your excitement and pursue your excitement, that's you. So then you get, then you die and you're back to non-physical and you're like, you got to be kidding me. You mean I could have done that while I was down there? Because you don't know until you get back. You don't know all the opportunities and all the wins and all the experiences you could have. You don't know until you get back, and then you can't do nothing about it unless you come all the way back in from a baby and do it all over again, and you forget everything all over again, right? So you need to live right now. So the answer is there life after death? There is no death. It's just a matter of what are you going to do while you're here? What are you going to experience while you're here? And do you really want to start over from the beginning? I don't think you want to do that, boo. You're here. So what you want to do is experience here. Live here. Get excited here. Pursue your excitement and your fun here. Now, Priestess Makita, am like the worst offender of this, I must admit. I only really recently made that connection to say, okay, well, wait a minute. Oh, I'm an eternal spiritual being. Like, I mean, I knew that there were other beings that existed around me. I mean, and you know it too. You know it too. Don't look at me like that. You know that there are other beings. You know there's more to what you see than what meets the eye. Not only do we know this, I know this from my personal experience and what I've seen, but guess what? Even the government knows it. I Area 51 is not like a fake place. There really have been beings that have been here on the planet that have been identified. Now, of course, nobody wants to share that with the general public. We don't want to have mass hysteria. They want to take it and figure out what's going on with it, dissect it, and understand it. We know that there are non-physical beings that channel through other people in the sense that some are here to help, some are here to control and manipulate, right? But the reality is that you have the control to kind of drive and direct your personal experience. And so that's why it can be challenging, because you don't know that. Now, to your credit, and this is going to be, okay, I'm going to tell you this. And I know you're going to be like, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one, High Priestess, but let me share this one. So, I have done some research, and what I have understood to be true in the matrix, like what is true? We don't know what true is, right? But there has been some, how should I say? There's been some documented discussion about the concept that the human experience was modified in the sense that your ability to connect with, initiate, and operate your spirituality, and connect with your eternal spiritual being was tampered with by beings that saw more benefit in manipulating you by fear than by just letting you do you and expand and ascend the way you were designed and expected to do. So follow me. So if it's true that you are an eternal spiritual being, and if it is true that there have been other spiritual masters like Jesus, like Buddha, like others who have been able to ascend to certain levels, I'm here to let you know that you're no different than they are, right? The only difference between you and, let's use Jesus as an example because that's the most familiar to me. The only difference between you and Jesus is that Jesus was connected with his higher self. He was connected and he knew his power and his ability. You don't. I think I said before, like, you're kind of out here kind of driving the car without a license. You're out here, you're not even really driving the car. You like riding in the car, right? And you're just responding to every little thing that comes against you, comes around you. I have a friend. Okay, I'm gonna digress for a minute. So I had this friend that's really into conspiracy theory. Now, I personally, I really don't care because I'm working on my personal world, my universe, my own universe. So I'm focused on creating and designing a life that I want to experience, right? But this is something that you get hooked it up into. So we that are spiritual, you spiritual people, there's kind of like these groups of spiritual people, right? There's like the people who are the baby spiritual people who are like they first come into church and they're all excited. They're like, ooh, yay, I'm saved. Jesus, wonderful. Jesus is Lord, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know what Indian people say or other people, right? So there's the babies. And then there's the people who've been in there for a while and they're like, okay, is this all there is? Well, you know what? I might as well have fun and go to events and have women's days and do all this kind of stuff. But my life isn't really it's okay, but I feel like it's something missing, but I don't know what it is. It must be me. So I'm just going to, just walk through it. Okay. But then there's the spiritual people who don't settle in there. They go beyond. They go, you know what? This is kind of where I felt a little bit. It's like, you're like, wait a minute. Something ain't right. And you know what? I need to know what's not right because I want to understand me. I want to know what's going on with me. I want to understand how I operate and function and what's my place in the world and how can I help other people and all that kind of stuff, right? So you nosy spiritual people, you know who you are. You nosy spiritual people. You're like, wait a minute. Oh, what synchronicities? Like the mature people who are like comfortable where they are in their spiritual walk or like in their church or synagogue or whatever, they're like, oh, angel numbers. I'm not looking at those. I don't know what that is. That's from the devil. Okay. I used to be one of them people. Okay. But then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Actually, the first time I experienced angel numbers was probably like 2 decades ago. And that was exactly my response. I was like, oh, no, that must be from the devil. I'm not doing that. Oh, no. And then later it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's here to help me. Oh, wow. But then you get to this point of spiritual superiority, like, right? So you get connected, you understand you're an eternal spiritual being, you understand about energy bodies and Reiki and all these things and tarot and psychic readings and how they affect you. And so there's a tendency a little bit where you could be a little bit of a spiritual snob. Okay, like you like, oh well, you don't know about chakras and tarot and Reiki. Here, let me school you, honey. Which I personally have never gotten to that point because I don't really know enough about that stuff to even care. And once I found out I could, I could work on creating my own universe, I was just like, okay, that's great. Thank you. I'm glad to know that. I'll let some other people know about it, but really I'm working over here right here. And so I think you should be a little selfish, honestly. That's one of the things I think we're missing in society is this concept of you being selfish, you selfishly pursuing becoming who you are. Oh, but listen, I'm gonna tell you about that in a minute. But you're watching Temple of Divine TP, Real Talk for the Walk. I'm your hostess, High Priestess Makita and Divine, and I am so glad that you are here with me having this conversation. So you're watching me live on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe, and call 313-355-6018. you got about maybe 10 minutes. You can still call me and ask me a question. You can always comment replay in the replay. If you're watching this on the replay, let me know you were here. Okay. And if you are getting helpful information from Real Talk, Temple of Divine TV, Real Talk with High Priestess Makita Divine, feel free to support us financially at Cash App at $MD Temple of Divine, $MD Temple of Divine, Cash App. And any donation is appreciated. And I'll give you a shout out. So, but my point is that you really should be a little bit selfish, right? So if you are more focused on you and creating your own universe, you can still help people. Like I used to feel like I wanted to help the whole world. Like I'm gonna help the world. And people be like, girl, look, forget them. They're not gonna listen anyway. People gonna do what they want to do. You can't help them. You can't be responsible for what other people are gonna do. Blah, 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 blah. I have a friend tell me that. And I'm like, oh, but I'm here with a purpose. I gotta have a purpose. And those marketers, they really, really like it when you have some mission and purpose. I was looking at a presentation today and they just really stick it to you on that purpose thing. It's like, if you don't have the proper tools, how are you going to meet your mission and your purpose? And I was like, and I personally have fallen prey to a whole bunch of those, right? But at the end of the day, here's the thing. If you just do you, if you just pursue your what gives you joy, if you just follow your excitement, then you're going to help the world anyway. No, there's no better benefit to the world than you just being you, happy being you. If you're unhappy pursuing your purpose, if you're like, you know what, I'm sick of these people. I don't care if they get it or not. Like 3 times a week, you need to just stop. Just forget them and do what makes you happy. And in doing what makes you happy, you're a happier person. People experience a happier person. And Lord knows we need to experience some happy people around here, don't we? We need to experience happy people. And so if you're pursuing what makes you happy, if you are experiencing things that help you to feel love and to be excited, then guess what? You're going to help the world. You don't have to take on this big major burden to save the world. Okay? You don't have to do that. There's already been ascended masters that have come before you that have done that. You don't have to do that. I personally think it's an ego thing. Like I have friends who I feel like, one I can think of right now, I think it's an ego thing. We try to be all humble. We're like, oh, God gave me this to do, and I've got to do it. If it wasn't for God, I would be doing this right here. But look at this great, amazing thing I'm doing right here, and look at how many people are going to be helped. That's ego, baby. That is ego, because that's not humility. That's ego. It's a lot of people just be like, oh, God gave me this to do. Like, look what God gave me. You didn't get this big thing that I got to do, but look what God gave me. Daddy really loves me. Okay, that's a joke. I'm just telling you. You can take it however you want to take it, but it's a joke. And it's a crock of stuff. And really, it's just your ego finding another way to express itself, okay, in a way that makes you feel like you're doing great and you feel like you're a great person. But really, I'm sorry to let you know this. It's ego and it's not you. But anyway, I'm like totally digressed. I was talking about we already crushed it on life after death. Right? Okay, text me below and say, I know. I get it. I understand. I don't agree. You full of it. I appreciate that's crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. Feel free to comment any of the above below or call me. You got a few more minutes. You can call me at 313-355-6018. And you can just really let me know what you think about it. Just go ahead and let me know. And I'm happy to chop it up with you about that. So anyway, wait, where was I? So, and my final commentary for today, and then I have this song I want to share at the end. And let me just set the song up. Okay, I'm gonna set the song up. So the name of the song is Farewell. And we talked about death in the beginning, with my dad and all the things that people experience when there's a death of a close loved one. And then we talked about in the vortex how everything that you want is there kind of whirling around in a place that's waiting to be delivered for you to you when you're ready to receive that. And your being ready to receive is about you being connected with your higher self. It's about you working through your shadows and the things in your life that have caused you to have beliefs that don't serve you. And in that process, you become a better version of you. And as you become a better version of you, you leave behind the version of you that was not good. And so this song is called Farewell. It's by Queen Herbie, who is one of my favorite artists in this genre. And the song is about saying farewell to that version of yourself that really wasn't your highest self. Your mission or your goal, perhaps, my goal, is to get to a point where I become the highest version of me. And the way we become the highest version of ourselves, we have to say goodbye to some things. We have to say goodbye to the way we were in different ways, in different areas and stuff. And so this song, I want you to listen. I wanted to show you it to you, but I want you to just listen to the lyrics and think about how you can say farewell to old versions of you. Think about who is it that you really feel in your gut that you are and that you are becoming, because it's possible for you to become that person. And it's really as simple as you tuning in your thoughts and your actions, using the law of attraction to do for you, to work for you and not against you. And then you can become the very person that you desire to become. And in doing so, you can help the world. So this is High Priestess Makita. I'm going to play this, as much of this song as I can get in real quick. And then we'll wrap it up. Farewell. I hope you can hear it. Sexy future you. Bet on you. You have been watching Temple of Divine TV with where we have real talk for the walk. I'm your hostess, High Priestess Makita Divine. It's been my pleasure to share with you today, and I want to see you here next Saturday at 3 p.m. on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world, broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Bye. See you next time.